Okay, so good morning, everyone, and welcome to our online information session on road transport social legislation for operators, drivers, and social partners, with a focus on passenger transport organized by the European Labour Authority, or short ELA, and the Confederation of Organisations in Road Transport Enforcement, short CORTE. Before we start with our event, let me quickly run you through some technical aspects. The presentations and discussions will be held in English. We do, however, provide for live interpretation in Greek, Romanian, Bulgarian, Croatian, Slovenian, and Hungarian. You can access the interpretations using the options Interpretation, which you can find below the video in the lower left-hand side of the window. I hope that you can see and hear us well. In case you do experience some technical issues during the session, please reach out to technical support team. You can do that by using the chat feature. You can find the chat button marked with a small cloud icon in the lower right-hand corner of the window. After clicking on the chat button, you should select Text Support Chat thread in order to send a message to the technical support team. My name is Ivan Mekinda, and I work in the Information and EURES unit at ELA. We are an EU agency which contributes to ensuring fair and effective labor mobility across the EU, and we assist member states and the European Commission in the coordination of social security systems in the European Union. Road transport is a very important pillar of our work. Lots of work for us to do there, especially in the information unit, where we aim at facilitating access to information and services for mobile workers and their employers. So in road transport, our target groups are therefore drivers and operators. But before we dive into the first presentation, let me give the floor to my colleague Tonio Bur from ELA, and also to Remi Rusotto, who is a Chief Executive Officer from CORTE, as well as to Katarzyna Kuske, who will be joining us and who is also representing DG Move of the European Commission, to say a few welcoming words for the introduction. So I would kindly ask Tonio to take the floor.
Thank you, Ivan. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this third online information session on road transport social legislation for operators, drivers, and social partners, today with a focus on passenger transport. My name is Tonio Bur, and I work for the European Labour Authority, or short ELA, and together with our partner CORTE, which is the Confederation of Organisations in Road Transport Enforcement, we have organized these practice-oriented online sessions about the social aspects of Mobility Package 1. I would like to extend the welcome to our experts who are together with you today. I would like to thank the participants who are the most important people today, as they will guide us through the complexities of driving and rest time rules, posting of drivers, and social security aspects. With this event, we are also collaborating with the social partners in road transport, namely the European and National Employer Associations, as well as the European and National Road Transport Unions. I look very much forward to hearing their views on the topics which we are covering today. The online event today is part of a larger project which consists of 4 training courses for enforcers. That is not what you are participating in today, and 4 online information sessions for drivers, operators, and social partners. This is what you are participating in today. And both the training courses and the online information sessions put the spotlight on Mobility Package 1 and what it means for passenger transport. The 4 online information sessions each focus on a different target region in Europe. Today, we invited participants from Greece, Cyprus, Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, Slovenia, and Malta. I welcome everyone, and I hope you will profit from what we have prepared for you today. It is now my pleasure to hand over to my colleague Ivona Kashpik-Soa, who is the brain behind this great initiative. Ivona, please.
Let me just jump in quickly. So we will have a short change. Instead of Ivona, who will be addressing us at the end of the event, I will now like to give floor to Remi. So Remi, if you could Take it.
Thank you very much,
Perfect.
Ivan. Thank you, Tony. So yes, we made this little switch between introduction and conclusion. So thank you very much. So my name is Remy Russoto, representing CORTE. So we're very glad to welcome you this morning, Monday morning. So it's a good way to start the week with an information session on road transport social legislation. So we're glad to do this together. Yes, CORTE with Ella. Combining our efforts, doing this also in close discussion with the European Commission, DG Move, but also with all of you. So this is the main point, I think, today, is to be able to, as we do in these trainings and information sessions, to put you together so that you are part of this community road transport, and that the information, explanations of this sometimes complex acquis and rules are well understood by the whole sector. So as mentioned by Tony just now and Ivan, the idea behind this information is, let's say, broader than today, in the sense that we, throughout the year, reach out to the social partners, operators, drivers, and enforcers all over the EU. So today, indeed, we're putting together you from 8 countries for an information session, but just for you to know, there is a larger, let's say, logic here and plan that we are deploying this year, and actually we did this last year also, is to cover the whole of Europe, to cover all of you. So this is the important part, so that all of you are inside this community. And the other thing is, as mentioned by Tony just now, this is also part of a larger effort to reach out to enforcers. So we will meet. So today is the information session for you, and for you to know, we are going to Athens this week, so that on Wednesday and Thursday, we will in fact have a large training by enforcers and to enforcers with about, generally there are about 80 enforcers in the room, and then sometimes hundreds literally online from all these countries. So 8 countries that were named just now, so that we, in the same way we're doing today, we try to create and form this community. Now, the purpose of this, and I'll let my colleagues and the experts go through the subjects, so the driving times, posting, and social security, is really to touch upon and explain the difficult aspects or complicated aspects of the new rules that have been introduced, or the rules that you have to use and are confronted with. So our goal here is to deal with items that are difficult, where we want to bring clarity. So here we also welcome, and this is the idea of the information session, welcome your questions, and we received already through Ella quite a few of your questions today and after, and we'll try to address them. So we won't have time today to address them all, but the idea is that you make us aware of the questions you have, so that we can clarify as much as possible what is sometimes misunderstood in these different items, so driving times, posting, and social security. So I think I'll stop here, and again, very glad to welcome you and enjoy the online information session, and both Ella and CORTE is at your disposal for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Remy, and thank you, Tonio, as well, for this kind welcoming words. So my task today will be to guide you through the following, what we expect to be something less than 3 hours of this session, in which we will focus on 3 main topics. So the first one would be on the driving and rest time rules. Then we will cover posting of drivers, and we also have a dedicated part of the session devoted to the coordination of social security systems in road transport. For all of the mentioned topics, we will hear experts summarizing the most relevant rules, followed by testimonials of those rules put into practice by representatives of the European Transport Workers' Federation, or ITF, and the International Road Transport Union, or short IRU. Considering our very ambitious agenda, which you could actually see on the screen and which was sent to you in advance, the very limited time and the large amount of participants we have today, we have put in place the following question policy. As you can see, you are all muted, and for some of you, your video is turned off. Please stay like this throughout the whole session. If you have questions, please put them into the chat. I would like to remind you that you can find the chat button marked with a small cloud icon in the lower right-hand corner of the window. Please note that since we allowed posting questions in advance through registration form, we would address questions in chat in case there will be enough time. We would like to thank you all of you who submitted questions in advance. Those questions are certainly useful, and we have selected the most relevant ones to answer during this info session. I would also like to inform you that today's presentation will be available on the ELA website from tomorrow, since I already saw that there are a couple of questions in the chat regarding that. So if you would like to access it, please use the link that you can find in the chat. So actually, this is the link that will guide you to the dedicated webpage on ELA webpage, where you can download the presentation from tomorrow. I would also like to use this opportunity to welcome all our speakers and experts. It is great to have you on board for this important event. Additionally, please note that the session will be recorded. If you don't want to appear, just turn off your video. Okay, enough of me talking. It's time to get started with the presentation. First up today, we have my colleague Antonio Burr, who already said a couple of welcoming words at the beginning, but who will also, in a very concise manner, present ELA's activities in the area of road transport. So, Tonio, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ivan. Could we share the presentation?
So, if I could kindly ask Lukas to, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And even further. Okay, great. Next slide. Okay, great. So here we have it. It's my pleasure to now start the workshop with a short overview of what ELA is. ELA stands for European Labour Authority. And I would also like to explain why we are relevant for drivers, operators, and social partners who engage in international road transport. After my presentation, we are moving into the actual knowledge transfer, and experts will explain to you the rules connected to driving and rest times, posting of drivers, and social security provisions in road transport. All of us will show slides, which we will automatically send to you after this online session. So what you can see on this slide here is basically what ELA is. So we are one of the newest EU agencies, a so-called supervisory and implementing authority, and we're located in Bratislava in Slovakia, and we were only founded in 2019. Our main goal is to facilitate labor mobility, like, for example, the possibility for passenger transport operators and their drivers to offer their services EU-wide. We make sure that the European Union rules on labor mobility are applied in what we call a fair, simple, and effective way to help strengthen fairness and trust in what I believe is our most precious good, the EU internal market. We do this through the 3 pillars that you can see here on the slide, and these pillars also represent the main areas of work at ELA. So you can see we have an information pillar. This is where I work, and our main goal is to facilitate access to information and services for individuals, but also for employers and labor market intermediaries. It focuses on improving the knowledge and understanding of information needs which are related to intra-EU labor mobility. We organize events like this one. We produce information materials like flyers and videos, but I will tell you more about this in a second. Or we help to improve websites of national administrations, which, for example, focus on rules which apply to you in international road transport. We have a cooperation pillar It supports cooperation, information exchange between member states and various other institutional stakeholders, and it aims to foster collaboration and strengthen networks for cross-border cooperation in the application and enforcement of labor mobility rules. My colleagues there, for example, organize this intensive training course for enforcers of road transport rules, which takes place after this information session. And I'm sure that some of the questions that you have submitted will also be looked at the training course, as these questions constitute valuable information from the ground. And then the last pillar is the enforcement pillar. It enhances cross-border enforcement of labor mobility regulation and involves coordinating, for example, inspections and enforcement actions across member states. Next slide, please. Here you can see some of our concrete activities in the information sector. We, for example, organize road transport local information events. These can be on-site or online in different EU member states. They target drivers, operators, and social partners, like the event today, and they cover different aspects of labor mobility in road transport. We also develop and implement campaigns, like, for example, the Road to Fair Transport campaign. And we have produced several materials, videos, leaflets, infographics, posters, and also other resources. And we review national websites and other EU portals in order to improve information provision for end users like you. Next slide, please. And one of the campaigns I want to talk with you about is a new campaign. It's an important campaign in road transport, and it focuses on the new rules coming into effect as of July 1st, 2026, so next year. And they pertain to drivers and operators of so-called light commercial vehicles who are engaged in international freight transport or cabotage operations within the EU. These changes are part of the final phase of the EU Mobility Package 1. And as you know, this package aims to improve road safety. It helps to ensure fair competition, and it enhances working conditions for drivers across Europe. So in this campaign, which also targets drivers and operators of those LCVs, we will inform about the mandatory rules concerning driving and rest times, the use of the smart tachograph version 2, and the rules connected to the posting of drivers. And similar to our campaign Road to Fair Transport, we will produce several relevant campaign materials and organize webinars for you which inform about these new rules. We have planned a first webinar for December this year, and we will upload information on the webinar and the possibility to register very soon in the events section of ELA's website. I will tell you where to find it in a second. Next slide, please. I would now like to acquaint you with a couple of very practice-oriented resources. They can help you understand the rules of Mobility Package 1. On this slide, you can see some of the most important ones. There's flyers about driving and rest time rules, and there's a flyer about posting. It's available in all EU languages, and even a couple of relevant non-EU languages that are relevant, for example, for drivers from third countries. All of this can be downloaded free of charge on our website. Also, you can see there's the logo of Your Europe. That's the general website of the European Commission for individuals and companies. If you click on the pictures that you can see in this presentation, you will automatically be directed to the respective resource. So there's links behind all of those pictures. I will explain some of the material in more detail. Please keep in mind, as I said, that everything I show is accessible for free and available in many different EU languages and even some of the relevant non-EU languages. The Your Europe logo, it includes a hyperlink to a website that is called EU Rules for Working in Road Transport. Next slide, please. So as I said, if you click on the logo, it will guide you to this page, and it includes details about all relevant aspects of these rules. You can see on the left-hand side the different topics. They range from driving and rest time rules, the use of tachograph, posting, and information on the minimum wage, which applies to posted drivers.
I'm sorry, if I could just jump in for a second.
Yes.
If I could just kindly ask Lukas to go to the next slide. Thank you. Thank you. Just to follow on Tonia's presentation.
Okay. Yes, sorry, I didn't even. Slide further, please. Great, thank you. So this is basically another important resource. It's our website, ELA's website, and it has a special section on the social aspects of international road transport. And this slide shows you how to navigate to the relevant topics. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we make available information on the legal background of the provisions in force in the road transport sector. And as you can see here, the legal framework consists of the so-called directives and regulations. As a reminder, regulations apply directly and uniformly across all EU member states. Once it's passed, it becomes law in every country without needing any change. It's like a rule that everyone in the EU must follow exactly as it is written. And then we have directives. This is a law that sets certain goals for member states to achieve, but each country can decide how to implement them. It's like giving everyone the same destination, but allowing them to choose their own route on how to get there. Next slide, please. This is the official information website of the European Commission on Mobility Package 1, and you can find all you need to know: definitions, explanations, specifications on the applicable European rules, and also there is a very comprehensive FAQ section with answers to some very relevant questions, which many of you might have already probably asked yourself when on the road or when planning a route. Next slide, please. This is the entry point to the so-called Road Transport Posting Declaration portal. Many of you will know it. It's a useful feature in road transport, which I believe many other economic sectors are actually jealous of. It gives you the possibility to submit posting declarations, or sometimes they're also called posting notifications, for all EU countries in one central location with one login. Next slide, please. One pressing issue in international road transport is finding skilled drivers. ELA hosts EURES, which is the European Employment Service. It's a cooperation network designed to facilitate the free movement of workers within the EU member states, including Switzerland, Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway. It helps people find jobs and employers, find workers across Europe. On this and also on the next slide, we are showing the necessary steps to use the portal. As an employer, you can search for candidates according to preset needs. And as an employee, you can upload your CV and create a profile so that potential employers can find and hire you. Next slide, please. Here you can see on the right-hand side some of the useful links in case you would like to check it out and test EURES. The prerequisite for using EURES and many other free EU tools is the so-called EU login. It's a free one-time registration, and it gives you, as I said, access to many other EU services. Next slide. Okay, we're almost at the end, but I wanted to show you this one. It's Solvit. It's a free service provided by the EU, and it helps both citizens and businesses to resolve problems they encounter with public authorities in another EU country. It can help you if you're facing unfair rules or decisions from public authorities in another EU country, or if you feel your EU rights are being breached and you haven't taken the case to court yet. It's a step you can do before. You can submit your problem online. It's easy and quick through this Solvit website that you can see on the slide, and it will direct you to the Solvit center in your country. It gives you all the legal necessary background, and if need be, Solvit will remind the authorities on your behalf of your EU rights and works with them to fix the issue. Before I finish my presentation, I would like to give you one important further information. It concerns a new entry system to Schengen. I do not have a slide, but we will upload flyers and more information into this very chat. So I believe you will, you can see the material that I'm talking about in a second here in Interactio, so through this meeting platform that you're in. It concerns the entry-exit system, EES. It's a new EU border management initiative, and it will replace the manual stamping of passports with electronic entries and exits in the EES, and introduce the capturing of biometrics at Schengen border crossings. So it's Schengen border crossing points for non-Schengen nationals who visit Schengen for a short stay. And as I said, there will be more material uploaded into this session. Next slide, please. This is it from me. I hope you could gather some useful information. I want to thank you, and I would now like to hand back to Ivan. Thank you.
Thank you, Tonio, as well. As Tonio mentioned, we did upload the leaflets from the colleagues from Frontex, and if you would like to access them, please know that you can do that by using the add-on buttons. It's the icon with four small squares located in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So once you click on that, choose the file section, and there you will see a list of the available leaflets. If you would like to download it, just simply click on the title of any leaflet and it will be downloaded to your computer. Okay, so we can move along. Now I would like to give floor to Hans to present us with the presentation on driving and rest time rules in passenger transport. So Hans, please, if you could take the floor. Hans, can you hear us? If I could just ask Lukas to check if the Hans is connected and if there are some technical issues.
Connected, trying to unmute, but maybe there's the mute button on the microphone on the headset because it's selected. They're should be speaking now, but maybe there's a mute button on your microphone. So if you can click, try to check if your microphone is muted on the cable or on the headset.
Okay, we can see you now. If you could try to use the mic as well, Hans, just to see if it's working.
Try to. You can hear me?
We can hear you, but it's not the best option. So if I could just ask Lukas to jump in to try to switch.
So now it's your laptop microphone. Does your headset have a mute button on it?
Yeah, but
So I will try to again switch to that device. Please accept.
Yes, I do.
Now we can hear you. Yes, now it's on mic.
Okay.
Perfect.
The volume is also okay?
Yeah. Yeah, we
Okay.
can hear you loud and clear, Hans. So
Okay.
please, you can
So
start sharing.
let's share the presentation. Okay, you can see the presentation now?
Not yet.
Should be.
Okay, something is happening.
Okay. And this one?
Yeah, now it's good.
Okay, okay. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry for a small problem here. I'd like to say something to you about the new rules for the occasional passengers transport on driving and resting times. And why these new rules? Because there is a high seasonality between occasional passengers transport and the freight transport. Generally, it involves less driving time compared to freight transport or regular bus services. And it's also varying driving distances. What you see if you have a passenger service of several days, that the first day and the last days, they are driving a little bit longer, but in between, it's not so long driving. So another thing is unscheduled and impromptu requests for additional stops, for changes of the route, or schedule where feasible. And drivers in occasional passenger transport usually sleep in hotels and seldom drive at night. Now, the Mobility Package 1 required the European Commission to examine where more appropriate rules can be adopted for drivers engaged in the occasional passenger transport due to the specificity of the sector. And these new rules are enter into force at the 22nd of May 2024. So we have these new changes already. And where are we talking about then? First, the new derogations, the breaks, the uninterrupted driving time. As you probably know, after 4.5 hours driving, you have to take a break of at least 45 minutes. And you can also split these breaks. Now, there is a new derogation about splitting these breaks. And perhaps I have to say one thing more about the driving. I get a lot of questions. What is driving? Now, driving is very easily said, is rolling of the wheels. If the vehicle is standing still, it's not driving time, even if it is 1 minute. The driving time is the rolling of the wheels. And then we have another thing, the daily rest extension of the period of 24 hours. As we see later, in every 24 hours, you need to take a certain rest. Under certain conditions in the occasional passengers transport, the extension of the 24 hours can be done to 25 hours. And the last one is the extension of the existing derogation to national occasional transport, and that's the 12-day derogation. Actually, it was already for years in the regulation, but it is extended now to national transport. Now, starting with the first one, the uninterrupted driving time of 4.5 hours, then you see here, for driver engaged in occasional passenger service, the break referred to in the first paragraph, the 45 minutes, may also be replaced by 2 breaks of at least 15 minutes each. distributed over the driving period referred to in the first paragraph in such a way as to comply with the provisions of this paragraph. What it is said is if you drive 4.5 hours, you have to split and take a break, or you have to stop and make a break for 45 minutes, or splitting in 2 breaks of at least 15 minutes, but in total, always 45 minutes. Now here you see this general rule, and this is counted for all drivers for freight and or passenger transport. A first break of 15 minutes and a second break of at least 30 minutes. Together 45 minutes. That is the regular rule. But the derogation, and that only applies to occasional passenger transport, is the first break of at least 15 minutes and also the second break of at least 15 minutes, but it should be result in a total of 45 minutes break. So it permits the driver to split the 45 minutes break into any combination such as 20 and 25, 17, 28, 30 and 50 and so on. I give you a few examples of these one. 1 hour driving, 50 minutes break, 3.5 hours of driving, 30 minutes break, and then the next time of driving. What you see here is that the next calculation starts after the second break of 30 minutes. 15 plus 13 is 45, and the first one is 15, and the second one is 30, and that is because of a court ruling, the famous Charlton case we say in the enforcement world, and that says that if you find the 45 minutes in one piece or split it, then after that you have to calculate again. And what you see here is 50 minutes first and 30 minutes second, and that is allowed in all types of transport. So the next calculation for the uninterrupted driving time starts after the break of 30 minutes. Another one. 1 hour driving, 25 minutes of break, 3.5 hours driving, 20 minutes of break, and then go on. So in occasional passenger transport, the next calculation starts after the second break of 20 minutes, because it says 15 minutes at least, and the second one should also be 15 minutes at least, and together it should be 45 minutes. Now you see that this is happening here. So in the occasional passenger transport, the next calculation starts after the 20 minutes. Allowed only in occasional passenger transport. So not in a freight transport.
I'm sorry, Hans. I just need to jump in for a second.
Yes.
The resolution of the presentation is rather small. So if you agree, we would like to ask Interatio or Lukas to help us, and in such a way that actually he could share the presentation, because it will be much easier for the participants to see the content.
Okay, good. So I have to close my presentation.
It's already done. So let's just check if we are on the same slide as we were. I would say yes. So if you could just continue, Hans, with the presentation, and then you can simply say next slide when you need Lukas to change it. Okay?
Yeah. Okay, so now I see in my screen the 5 minutes driving, followed by 30 minutes break. Next. Lukas, it's a few, you can give a few clicks so that we have an overview, so thank you. So here you have 5 minutes driving time, 30 minutes break, 4 hour and 25 minutes driving time, and 50 minutes break. After that, 4.5 hours minutes driving time. The occasional passenger transport, the next calculation, what I said before, starts after the second break of 15 minutes. So here there is no infringement. It's only allowed in occasional passenger transport. Next slide. And you give a few clicks, Lucas. Thank you. So here we have 10 minutes driving time, 30 minutes break, 4 hours driving time, 15 minutes break, and then 4 hours of driving time again. After that, 30 minutes break. Another click. Yes. Now, in the transport of goods and regular passengers transport, this calculation, this pattern, 10 minutes, 4 hours, and 2 times 4 hours, starts after the second break of 30 minutes, because the regular rule is first 15 minutes and the second break should be 30 minutes. So this example constitutes an infringement. 10 minutes plus 4 hours driving time plus another 4 hours driving time, and then you have more than 4.5 hours, actually 8 hours and 10 minutes, and that's an infringement. Next slide, please. The occasional passenger transport doesn't say that the first one has to be 15 and the second one 30. It should be at least 15. So there is no infringement, and the next calculation starts after the 15 minutes break. Next slide, please. Yes, now I explained this already. Then the next one, that's the 24-hour period. It is, I was in service for quite a long time, and I only know that in a period, if you talk about resting times, in a period of 24 hours, you should have the regular or reduced daily rest. Now, if you have Lucas, if you have a regular daily rest period of 11 hours, that means in 24 hours that it leaves you a daily period of activity of the driver of 13 hours. Next, another one. And then it can also be a reduced daily rest period. And a reduced daily rest period is 9 hours, but in 24 hours, it leaves 15 hours to work for the driver. That is the 24-hour period. Next. Give a few clicks. Okay. Now what you see here, the daily weekly rest ends. Then you have a daily period of activity of the driver for 13 hours and a regular daily rest of 11 hours. So in 24 hours, it is enough rest. Next clicks. There are a few clicks more. What you see here now is the same regular daily rest, but not in 24 hours. It is in 25 hours. You see that this daily period of activity of the driver is more than in the period of 24 hours. Now you see 14 hours and 11 hours. Next click. Then you see that the period is 25 hours. And under conditions, it is allowed in the occasional passengers transport to have 25 hours periods to calculate the daily rest time in. Next slide. Yeah, a few more. Okay. So after the daily rest, I have here 15 hours working activity, 9 hours rest, and that's in the 24-hour period, no problem. And you can calculate again after the rest period. Next. So we have here in 24 hours and a few clicks on this one. Then you have 16 hours instead of 15 hours and a reduced daily rest of 9 hours. That means the period of 25 hours. And under conditions, and I come back on these conditions right away, then it's allowed to have this period extended to 25 hours. Next. Few clicks. Yeah, okay. And another one. Now I come to these conditions. You see here a working pattern of 25 minus 9 is 16 hours. But now you get the condition, and that's the next click, that the maximum driving time may be only 7 hours. So if this is more than 7 hours, then you have to take your rest in a period of 24 hours. Here, it is allowed for the occasional passengers transport to have the rest in a period of 25 hours. Next. So this can only be in one single occasional passenger service. The next one. And the driving time, just what I said, limited to 7 hours. And the next. And the permissible number of times of use, if the length of the service is less than 6 times 24 hours, it's not allowed. If it is at least 6 times 24 hours and less than 8 times 24 hours, you can use it once. And if it is 8 or more, then you can use it twice. This is for the extension of the 24-hour period. Next slide, please. Now we have another one, and that is the 12-day rule. We have this 12-day derogation had for a couple of years, a long time. And from the 22nd of May 2024, this 12-day derogation is extended to national occasional passenger transport. Before that, it was always only allowed in international transport. So here, if you start after a weekly rest period, you start working, then you have after 6 times 24 hours, you need normally spoken, you need to take there your weekly rest period, but you can go up to the 12th time consecutive 24-hour period, and then you take there your weekly rest period. Also, again, under conditions. Now, the conditions were always and until now the same, unless only the national occasional passenger transport is, for that it's also allowed. Next slide. Now here you see the conditions. If you want to avail of the 12-day rule, it must be preceded by a regular weekly rest of at least 45 hours. And after the use of this derogation, the driver must take either 2 regular weekly rest periods in a total of 90 hours, or 1 weekly rest period and 1 reduced weekly rest period of at least 24 hours. Then you have a total of 69 hours. Now, this reduction of the reduced weekly rest period must be compensated by an equivalent period before the end of the 3rd week, following the week in question. Now, if you want to avail this derogation, this is not permitted with an analog tachograph. A digital tachograph can be used in vehicles which are only engaged in national occasional services. And then another one, if during this service there is a vehicle single-manned, then the driver is restricted to 3 hours of continuous driving time before he must take 45 minutes. And that is in the period between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. in the morning. What you see here, that is a condition. And what I hear sometimes is that this condition is taken as an infringement, but that's not the case. I'll show you later. Next slide. Yeah, give a few clicks, Lucas. Another one. Yes. Now here you see the maximum 12 periods of 24 hours. Before that, it's a regular weekly rest period. And after that, a regular weekly rest period plus another one or a reduced one. And that reduced one you have to compensate. And the tachograph have to be a digital one or a smart one. And next click, please. Yes. And the nature of the transport should be in one occasional passenger service. Next click. One time. And the limit to 3 hours uninterrupted driving time, unless it is manned by 2 drivers. Now here you see the 3 hours. If there is a 3 hour, if there is more than 3 hour uninterrupted driving time, then that at itself, it's not an infringement, but that means that the conditions are not met. And then you have an infringement of taken too many periods of 24 hours before taking a rest. Next. Now, the obligation to justify the derogations. The drivers must be able to justify the use of the 3 derogations during roadside checks by carrying on board a completed journey form. And this journey form may also be used for national services, indicating its use for that national service. And the obligation to carry on board the vehicle paper as from the 31st of December 2024, it is for the day and the previous 56 days. 28 days was until the 31 of December 2024. As now it is, you have to show it for the last 56 days. Next one. And the obligation to carry on board the vehicle copies of journeys form for 56 days ceases to apply at the latest when the vehicle uses a tachograph allowing the recording of the type of passenger service. If the tachograph shows you that, then you don't have to carry on board the copies of the vehicle, of the journey forms. By the 23rd of November 2025, the Commission is required to adopt implementing acts laying down appropriate technical specifications for tachographs to enable the recording and storage of data relating to the type of passenger transport, the passenger service. Next. And the last slide here is by the 31st of December 26, the Commission is required to assess the options for digitalizing the journey form itself for drivers engaged in occasional passenger service. So I think if you go to the next slide, yeah, this is for me, and if you have any questions, I hear it later. Thank you.
Thank you, Hans. Thank you for the presentation. I take from it not only how important is it to understand the specifics related to occasional passenger transport in compared to regular services and what occasional passenger transport is, but also how important is it to keep track of the driving times in order to be able to calculate when it is safe for the driver to be on the road again and when they should enjoy the well-deserved and life-saving breaks. So, as you can see from the next slide, we would like to dive a bit deeper into the topic of the driving and rest time rules, and here a short report about the experience of the relevant Road Transport Association on how these rules have been put into practice. It is with great pleasure that I now introduce to you Stephen Steyart from ITF. So,
morning.
Hi, Stephen. Hi. So if we can see you, hear you, so please feel free to take the floor and deliver your short report.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Steven. I'm at the steering committee of ETF Bus and Coach, and I'm a secretary in east of Flanders in Belgium. I was for more than 10 years at the work space between the drivers, with the drivers, and I've been raised with school bus driving for my father. So it's for me an honor to be here and to explain what my feelings are. And the first question is, how do we obtain all our information? Well, we do this by being present on the work floor every day. It's important to keep our finger at the pulse so we know what's going on and what the problems are. Together with our representatives, who are drivers themselves, we map out everything in Belgium and also outside of Belgium. We're being greatly from the work on ETF and the surveys they organize among the thousands of drivers who are on the road every day. And it means bus and coach drivers. So we have the small buses and until the big long trip services. When we look to the surveys we did, the core of the issues are very important. And contrary to what has been said already in this meeting, we have found out that many drivers do not have a hotel room with the multiple day trips. They staying in the bus, they have to sleep in the bus, and it's not so very comfortable. And I think I saw the big list here of participants. It would be nice to invite everybody to spend 1 or 2 nights in a coach bus in the place where the driver has to sleep. There's no comfort and it's very cold in the night, believe me. So do it and you will know that there's no resting time. A coach driver simply has no rest at all on long journeys because the rest regulations does not apply to regular urban transport, which sometimes makes it even worse. The problem is, contrary to what being said, we have established that if we look at the changes, they will come into effect. There was on May 24 with the 12 days rule. They will put even more pressure on drivers. The drivers themselves said, time to time, we are really tired, given that there are too few drivers. So the available drivers are being deployed, as much as possible. 12 days and then only 45 hours of rest. It's not 45 hours of rest they have, because those drivers also have a family, have children, have to make appointments, and they have to do everything in those 45 hours, because afterwards, if they ask for more holidays or time to rest, it's very difficult, and the pressure is very high from the companies because there's lack of drivers. If we look any further, if you see the age of the drivers, I think somebody who will have to explain that the average age of a bus driver is more than 50 years, because we don't find any young drivers. And even worse, if we are looking for female drivers, it's a big search. So in the past, we could rest between 2 journeys, because we looked in Belgium, small trips, and you have to go to 2 hours, 3 hours driving. Then you would say, I have the time to clean my bus a little bit, like a school trip or another trip, company trips. And after 2-3 hours, you have to go back for 2 hours. That time you are 7-8 hours on the road. You have to clean the bus again. You have to make the toilets clean. You have to do a lot of things. Now, the new thing we've seen is that between the 2 journeys, the companies fill the day with complete other trips, looking to merge with other companies to fill in the whole day. So the bus driver has to drive constantly. And as a bus driver is not just a bus driver. He's also, or she is also a psychologist and first aid assistant and baggage handler and guide and ticket inspector and steward with drinks and cleaner. And also at the end, they are still the driver of the bus. For me, it's ridiculous to expect a bus driver to take the rest period even stipulated by the EU. The time that all the passengers have boarded the bus, at least 15 minutes, have already passed, and no one has boarded yet, and there has certainly no time for the driver to go to the toilet. It's not a rest time; it's working time also. And then you have to make sure you can eat at the same time in a healthy, quiet environment. You know how it is. When we have a break from an hour, we take the time. Well, a bus driver doesn't have it. And if he has a possibility, he has to go together with the passengers trying to eat something. And all the passengers have questions for the bus driver. So, sorry, no resting time, only stress time for the drivers. For the trade unions like us, for BTB also, and all the European sister organizations within the ETF, the discussion about driving and rest times revolves around safety, health, and decent work. And transport and bus drivers have, in our experience, high work pressure, irregular hours, and tight driving rotation schedules. The pressure is exacerbated by staff shortage, and timetables have that leave little margins for errors. So the trade unions' perspectives for road transport and bus and coach are very clear. We have to be sure that the drive and rest times are safety. That we have to make safety rules, and they are not productivity tools. For some people, it's the same. For us, it's not the same. The driving and rest times are safety rules, not productivity tools. So keep in mind. They protect both the driver against fatigue, stress, burnout, and the passengers also against accidents. So I'm gonna leave it by this time. With I have a lot of more figures, and I will share them afterwards with everybody. There also are links at my text to search on the figures that we have collected by surveys together with the ETF and all the ETF members. Thank you very much. If you have any question, I would like to answer them.
Thank you, Stephen. Yes, for now we will move to Oleg Kamberski, but before that, just to clarify, after this we will have a short dedicated session devoted to questions and answers. So probably that would be the best time in case participants have a certain question for you regarding your report. So as I mentioned, the next up on the same subject we have Oleg Kamberski, who is a senior consultant for social affairs at IRU, the International Road Transport Union, and they represent the interest of the operators for his short report. So Oleg, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ivan. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Look, I want to draw the attention to three specific items. Surely Hans was right to place the emphasis of his presentation to the derogation, because this is what is different and specific for occasional passenger transport services. That's also actually what we are worried a little bit about, because of course these rules are still not very much used by the operators and by the drivers. Also because there is a lot of bureaucracy behind their enforcement and implementation. One is for sure the fact that you have to have now, under the new rules, to present the journey form in a paper variant for the current journey, and the journey forms for the previous 56 days in a paper or digital form. And we, up to now, we haven't agreed within the community, the road transport community and the enforcement community, what this digital means. And I think, and I hope this work is now progressing within the joint work together with ELA, by the way, and the member states on the enforcement of posting, where we have clearly indicated, and I think this is an agreement, or we have this agreement already with member states and enforcers, that of course digital in this case would mean also PDFs or photos of the journey form, which could be accepted by the enforcers at the roadside. That's one thing, of course, that can definitely help to relieve the burden from both operators and drivers to know that these documents, these journey forms in PDFs, are also accepted at the roadside. And then we are now progressing very fast now with the adaptation of the
Oleg, we lost you for a second. It seems that there are some kind of connection issues, so probably we could wait for a couple of seconds for Oleg to join again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay now. Yeah.
Where you lost me when I was talking about the journey form?
Like 30 seconds ago. Yeah.
Okay. So I said that basically within the current work where we are doing together with the colleagues from ELA, the colleagues from the trade unions, and indeed member states, it is important that we finalize these recommendations now. We are practically at the end on the enforcement of the posting rules, where we have agreed that PDFs should be accepted as a valid control document, PDFs of the journey form, I mean, so that these derogations can start to be using. And the last point I wanted to mention is that we are now quite fastly approaching the finalization of the commission work, and this is a dedicated expert group on the smart tachograph, which is finishing the work on making a difference between for a tachograph adaptation of the tachograph functionalities to make a difference between occasional and passenger transport. And this is, of course, very good because, of course, the tachograph will practically, with the tachograph, we will have practically all the elements that will be needed to make a difference between these two, but not only for driving and rest time rules, but also probably for posting. And that would be one of the challenges now, that in this final leg of working on this adaptation of the tachograph for the use of the coach derogations, to actually make sure that the tachograph will be able even to replace the journey form as a control document in the future. So that's something where we are working together, and I really want to make it very, very clear here how much we appreciate the work of the colleagues from ELA on these specific issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Oleg. Thank you for sharing your view on this. And as I mentioned before, we did receive some questions in advance, and we would like to dedicate some time now to answer to some of the most relevant ones on this topic. I would like to ask our expert speakers to please be prepared to help us with the questions which we have prepared for this group. I will read the questions out loud, but we would also post them into the chat, so in case participants can't understand clearly what I read, we'll have them in writing as well. So we do have a couple of them, so let me start with the first question, and I would kindly ask my colleague from ELA, Seamus Lynch, who is from the Enforcement and Analysis Unit, to take the floor after I read the question. So the first question is, will there be any guidance or the Q&As on when to register picking up and setting down passengers in GTV2 tachograph for the occasional passenger transport? So Seamus, please.
Good morning, Ivan. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, in relation to that question, at the moment there's no clear obligation stated in the regulation that drivers must indicate when they're loading and unloading, but it is it's strongly encouraged that they do so in order to facilitate enforcement. And as you've seen earlier in Hans's presentation, that the tachograph technical specifications are currently being drawn up by the Commission to ensure that drivers can record in the Smart 2 version tachograph when they are engaged in occasional passenger service. But that's still some time away. But in the meantime, as I said, it is strongly encouraged that drivers indicate they apply the condition for loading and unloading passengers.
Thank you, Seamus. Thank you for clarifying this. And I would kindly ask you to keep your mic and camera on, because we have the next 4 or 5 questions which are also related to tachograph. So I will kindly ask you.
Ivan, there is Oleg's comment in that he can maybe complement the question. Yes.
Of course, before we continue. So Oleg, please take the floor.
Look, we had actually last week, the Commission expert group, the last meeting was the 2 weeks before on adapting the tachograph for to be able to use for the new derogations. And we did have an industry discussion with the tachograph manufacturers, the colleagues from the tachograph manufacturers in the Commission. And one of the options today on the table is to say, of course, I actually very much emphasize what Seamus has said. We have actually, and we are actually advising drivers to record loading and unloading. That it is not mandatory, it is not legally obliging, but we really advise them to facilitate enforcement. Now, regarding the occasional passenger transport, we have one of the solutions that we are exploring in the expert group of the Commission is to consider the begin of the journey and the end of the journey as begin of loading and unloading. That's one of the options. Some colleagues have raised the issue that we may need in some specific cases, posting cases, to also be able to next to the begin and end, to also be able to record loading and unloading. So picking up and setting down passengers. So that's something that is on the table. I think at the moment, of course, the first solution, taking the begin and end as loading and unloading, is the simplest for the driver. But of course, the other one is a little bit more complicated, but it gives the flexibility to cover all situations that can emerge in a occasional passenger transport service for posting purposes. So that's what I want to say. The Commission has an obligation to publish the implementing act, at the end of November. It may take a month or 2 months more, but it will be, I think, it will be finished hopefully by the end of this year. And then some time for tachograph manufacturers to adapt the tachographs, and then potentially to recommend to the operators to actually software modify their tachographs during the calibration of the tachograph, which is once every 2nd year. Thank you.
Thank you, Oleg. Thank you indeed for sharing this update and valuable information with us. So we could continue to the next question. So the question reads, the Smart Tachograph Generation 2 has the option of loading, unloading. How does this feature apply to bus drivers? So Seamus, please.
Yeah, thanks, Ivan. Yeah, as I said earlier with the first question, there is no obligation, no stated obligation to indicate when you're loading or unloading, but the loading unloading feature of the tachograph, it applies in the same way for passengers as it does to goods. So I've just listened to Oleg there as well. I mean, it can be a bit tricky with occasional passenger service. For example, the occasional service itself could start 1 hour, 2 hours, or a certain period of time before passengers are actually loaded. So, for example, the driver could drive unladen from the depot to a hotel or some other place to pick up the passengers, yeah? So even though the service starts from when he commences on his unladen journey, the loading doesn't start until sometime thereafter. So as these issues are being discussed at the moment by in the expert working group. So hopefully they'll come to a solution that's suitable for everybody. So yeah, that's it on that question. Again, strongly encourage drivers to use, even though it's not a stated obligation, but they're strongly encouraged to use the function.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that as well. And the next question is rather short, I would say. So it goes like this: are tachograph updates obligatory by the law?
Not sure now what that question is about, but there will be software updates that will need to be done from time to time. So they can probably happen during a periodic inspection at the workshop.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we have one that is dedicated to enforcers, I would say. So can Italian authorities revoke drivers' licenses due to tachograph errors?
Well, one would have to speak to the Italian authorities to get an answer to that one, but I do know I have spoken to somebody in the past week. Revoke is probably the wrong word. I think withdraw is probably more suitable here. In instances where a driver is found to have manipulated the tachograph, the Italian authorities, I have heard, have withdrawn the license from the driver, so he's not allowed to drive on the territory of Italy for X number of days. I think once he leaves the country, his license is returned via the embassy, I'm told. But it's not actually revoking the license, it's just withdrawing and refusing to let him drive on Italian territory for a specific period of time.
Okay, thank you, Seamus, for that as well. And the last question in this series, I would say, for you is: how many days can a bus and coach driver drive in passenger transport before taking a break? And if they are a team of two, how many days can they drive without a break in the EU?
I guess that question should probably say rested. I mean, as we would have seen from Hans's presentation earlier on, drivers are required to take a break of 45 minutes after a continuous driving period of 4.5 hours. And that 45 minutes can be taken in one block, or it can be split. I won't go into how it's split again. That Hans did that presentation already. As regards the rest, double manning would not be able to avail of the extension of the 24-hour period, because it's different from multi-manning. When you're multi-manning, the drivers have a 30-hour period in which they must have taken a 9-hour daily rest period. So the 24-hour period is not applicable to drivers who are multi-manning. It's only applicable to single drivers. I hope that answers the question. If somebody wants further clarification, they can ask.
Thank you, Seamus. And we have yet another question that is related to tachographs, but from a slightly different perspective. And therefore, I would kindly ask my colleague Ivona Kašpiksova to help us with answering that one. So the question reads: when is the tachograph expected to be updated with a new program that can print drivers' activities related to international traffic, including cabotage, bilateral transport, or operations between two countries outside the company's headquarters, such as the EU Posting Commission cases? So, Ivona, if you would like to...
I think it's still for Seamus, sorry.
Okay, so Seamus.
Thank you, Ivona. Well, as we said here, the Commission, Ivan, is currently in the process of reflection how to further digitalize transport, right? But in the meantime, as I said earlier, just a couple of things. Strongly encourage drivers to make use of the loading and the unloading feature in the Smart 2 tachograph. And that, in combination with enforcers being able to check documents at the roadside, for example, CMR documents in the case of freight transport, journey forms in the case of occasional passenger transport, posting declarations, etc. Also, the tachograph automatically records the GPS coordinates for border crossings. It also records every 3 hours of accumulated driving time of the vehicle. So in combination, that's what helps towards the effective enforcement of the roadside at the moment. So yeah, it's just a combination of checking everything. documents and using the data that's recorded on the tachograph as well.
Okay, okay, Seamus, thank you for clarifying that. We are just taking a look at the questions which were raised or placed within the chat. So there is one question in particular. So maybe you can help us with that one as well. Actually, it was sort of a comment followed by the question. So unfortunately, in my country, there are accidents involving city buses, as you may have been informed. However, although regulation number 561/2006 exempt them from the use of tachographs, this device remains the only effective way to monitor drivers' working time. The use of digital tachographs prevents drivers from lending their cards to others or from driving additional shifts for other transport companies. What is the situation in other countries?
What's the question is saying that is he talking about passenger transport less than 9 passenger seats? Yeah, that's
actually
with a tachograph.
It's dealing with the matter of transport of city buses.
I think, Seamus, the question is more about the national passenger transport, the fact that you could be using analog tachographs in national passenger transport, yes? So that there is, with a digital tachograph, the author says it prevents drivers from lending their cards to others, and from driving additional shifts, yes? So what is the situation in other countries? So I think this, international versus national transport and the type of tachograph has an impact on enforcement and on the situation of safety at the roadsides, yes?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, in those types of cases, Ivana, if he's using an analog tachograph, right, if it's not a journey that's exempted from the rules, like school runs, for example, right, he is supposed to, obviously, he's using his record sheet, and that has to be handed up or presented at any roadside inspection along with the driver card. So as the control officer then at the roadside puts the data from the driver card, looks at it in combination with the data on the analog record sheet. If it's a case that he was driving a bus that was exempt prior to engaging in an in-scope journey, well then he should make a manual record once he inserts his card into the bus that's fitted with a tachograph. He should make a manual entry indicating the hours of work that he did when carrying out an out-of-scope operation. But I would recommend as well, if a driver is engaged in a journey that's actually out of scope, right, and it's fitted with the tachograph, because sometimes you have buses which they're used for in-scope and out-of-scope activities. But it is strongly recommended that if a driver is engaged in scope, sometimes out of scope, other times, that he uses his card at all times. That takes the burden off him then having to make any manual entries. So I would recommend at all times using your card if there is a tachograph fitted, and just indicating that it's other work, because it's deemed to be other work. It's classified as other work when you drive like a school run, for example. It's a regular passenger route where the distance doesn't exceed 50 kilometers.
Thank you, Seamus. And I just noticed in the chat that Oleg mentioned that he could contribute to the topic of mandatory updates of tachographs. So still we do have few more minutes left for this topic. So Oleg, if you would like to take the floor.
Look, if we the Commission has to, I think it was 23rd of November, they have to publish the implementing act. I can imagine that it will be, as I said, a bit late, so 1 or 2 months, hopefully late. So by the end of the year or beginning of next year, the implementing act will be published. Then the tachograph manufacturers, which describes the functionalities that have to be changed. Then the tachograph manufacturers have to adapt that and to propose, as we requested and the Commission is expecting, a software update, so that those operators that are using the derogations can update their tachographs when they go for the calibration of their tachographs in the workshops every second year. So you can count. If we have, by the end of this year, adopting the implementing act, then say 6 months or even a bit more for the tachograph manufacturers to up to a year to adapt their tachographs, and then another So the first calibrations would be able to take place of these coaches that will be using the derogations in 2027 first, probably 2028 realistically. So that's at that moment they will be able to make use of the new adapted tachographs. Now, if you are using your coaches only in scheduled transport, I imagine you will not be obliged to make this adaptation, software adaptation, for sure. Yeah, that's on this topic. There is one issue that is circulating in the business now, among the operators and the drivers about a mandatory security update, but I would not touch to it for the moment. If somebody wants, we can actually give some explanation on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Oleg. Seamus, would you like to add something?
Yeah, no, I just see there's another question that I know I've nothing more to say about the software updates. Yeah, I think Oleg has covered it there. Do I see a question there about the return of the driver? Do you want me to answer that one?
Yeah, just to read it out loud. Maybe I can do it, or
yeah,
you
please.
can do it. Yeah. So the question is: the Romanian drivers receive a lot of fines in Hungary, motivated by the late return of the drivers back to base. Do they have the right to issue those fines?
Well, we get lots of questions actually on the return of the driver. So just for clarity, right, there is no obligation on the driver to return. It's actually a right that he has, okay? And the obligation falls with the transport undertaking. They are obliged to schedule the work of the drivers in such a way to enable them to return back to the member state of establishment or to their home address within 3 or 4 weeks. So the obligation lies with the transport undertaking. Then it's only, as regards the enforcement of this particular provision, the enforcement lies with the control authority in the home member state, the member state of establishment. And it cannot be done at the roadside, it's supposed to be done at the premises. And that's clearly stated in the Enforcement Directive 2006-22 EC. It clearly states that this must be enforced during a premises visit and by the control authority in the home member state of establishment. So again, just to be clear, it's the obligation falls on the transport undertaking. There is no, he does not have to return, but he has the right to return if he so wishes. And by even relinquishing that right, if he says to the transport undertaking he doesn't want to, that doesn't preclude the transport undertaking from the obligation. They must still fulfill it.
Thank you, Seamus. Thank you for clarifying this, and thank you also for contributing to the discussion. And also, I would like to thank Oleg as well. So now we could continue to the next point on the agenda, and the next topic is dedicated to the posting of drivers in passenger transport. And for that, I would like to invite Artur Toczko, a road transport inspector from the Provincial Road Transport Inspectorate in Poland, to deliver the presentation. So Artur, if you're ready, please share the presentation with us. Just a short mention. Yeah. Artur,
okay. Can you see me and hear me? Can you see my presentation?
We can hear and see you, and we can also see the presentation. Yeah.
Okay. So my name is Artur Toczko. I'm a road transport inspector from Poland. So I control numerous regulations related to road transport, that including posting of drivers. So as those regulations are with us for nearly 4 years now. Okay, let me change the slide. So I will just quickly overview the main rules when the driver is required to be posted, when the operation does not require him to declare him as posted. The cabotage operation, that is always a posting situation. So regardless of the tachograph installed in the vehicle, regardless if the cabotage is performed also during the bilateral operation, that is always a posting situation. So there is no exception for that. On the other hand, bilateral operation is the operation that does not perceive the driver as posted in host member states. So provided that the operation starts or finishes in the member state of the establishment of the operator, he is not perceived as posted. And worth to mention that all those rules that are related to the drivers that are actually employees of the operators. Non-bilateral operation, or also known as cross-strait operation, that is a posting situation. So if the operation starts in a host member state and also ends in another host member state, that is a posting situation. So, for example, a Romanian operator perform a carriage from Czech Republic to France. So he have to declare the driver as posted to both Czech Republic and France. There are also exception rules known as 1+1 and a 0+2 rule. That means that during outgoing bilateral operation, which is exempt from posting, the driver may perform one cross-through operation, which will also be exempted from posting. Okay, it doesn't work. And there are certain conditions that 1+1 derogation rule is applicable only when the vehicle is equipped with a G2V2 tachograph. We know that since August this year, only G2V2 tachographs are allowed in international transport, but in case the driver still uses an older version, that will be infringement of related to the improper tachograph installed, and he's also losing the chance to be exempted from posting rules. 0+2 rule is only for carriage of goods, so I won't speak about it too much. And initial and final leg of combined transport may also be exempted from posting rules, but it's also related only to carriage of goods. Transit, regardless is it with passengers or without them, is perceived as a non-posting situation if the driver is not engaged in any picking up or setting down passengers. It is not a posting situation. Of course, he may stop for refueling the vehicle, but that activity is not related to perform a service in a host member state. Unladen journeys, sometimes it will be a posting situation, so other times it won't be. Although it is not clearly written in the provisions of the Lex Specialis Directive, the European Commission provided us with so-called Q&As, so questions and answers related to the proper interpretation of the European law related to posting based on Lex Specialis Directive. So it is said there that if the unladen stretch is connected to the laden journey, that it's in scope of posting, that unladen stretch before that is also a posting situation. On the other hand, if the unladen stretch is just before commencement of bilateral operation, which is exempted from posting rules, that unladen stretch is also not a posting situation. Any return of unladen vehicle back to the member state of establishment of the operator is also not a posting situation. So I will show several scenarios. Let's start with the occasional passenger transport. So you can see on the left that the operator will be established in Czech Republic, and he will be engaged in occasional carriage of passengers that starts from Czech Republic via Poland, Germany, back to the member state of establishment. So we start in the capital of Czech Republic, Prague, where passengers are picked up and they travel on the first day to Warsaw, where let's say they are leaving the coach and go to the hotel. On the second day, they are picked up from the hotel and they travel around Warsaw for local excursion. So it may look that it's kind of a cabotage because they were picked up and set down in the same member state on the second day of that occasional trip. But according to the Regulation 1073 of 2009, such carriage is perceived as a local excursion, as those passengers were previously brought from another member state and the carriage in one host member state is performed in a context of occasional carriage, that means we cannot perceive such operation as cabotage. It's a local excursion according to the legislation. And then we go to Berlin, another local excursion here. Do not mistake it with cabotage, it's a local excursion, and back to Prague where passengers are finally leaving the vehicle. So during that occasional round trip, there is no posting situation at all, because all those passengers create a group that was collected from the member state of establishment. Even though there were some local excursions, there is no posting situation at all. Another example related to occasional carriage of passengers. This time the operator is from Germany, where we pick up passengers in Frankfurt. And there are, on the first day they go to Paris, where the local excursion occurs. After that we go down south to Bordeaux, another local excursion, and the final local excursion in Lyon. After this local excursion, passengers leave the vehicle. Maybe they will come back home by plane or other means. The driver returns with an empty vehicle back to the member state of establishment. So regardless if passengers were present during the whole trip, the rules say that such carriage is perceived as a bilateral operation because it started in the member state of establishment, even though the passengers did not return. And as a rule, bilateral operation is always exempted from posting rules. Another example, operator from the Netherlands. And this time, the driver drives with an empty vehicle to host member state, which is Germany in this example. The passengers are picked up here and go for occasional round trip to Belgium, then France, and back to the host member state, Germany, where passengers leave the vehicle. After that, the driver returns with empty vehicle back to the member state or establishment, which is the Netherlands here. As you can imagine, that surely there is a posting situation here because he provides service on another market. So the posting begins just from the moment the driver crosses the border between the Netherlands and Germany, and lasts until the last passenger leave the vehicle in Germany, because the return of an empty vehicle back to the member state of establishment is not a posting situation. But it's worth to mention here that he is not posted to all three member states where he performed a carriage. He is posted only to Germany throughout the whole trip. It is because the service is strictly provided to German market. Okay, so he has to earn at least German remuneration during the posting situation that starts on Dutch-German border and lasts till the end of the laden journey. Okay, there were a few examples related to occasional carriage. Now we go towards regular passenger service. And according to the Q&As provided to us by the Commission, we do not have to, we enforcers do not have to check tickets to make sure if there is a posting situation or not. We only assess what is written in the authorization to perform regular service, the pink document that you apply for to perform such international regular service. and there will be stated which bus stops are allowed, which kind of operations between those bus stops you are allowed to perform, and we enforcers assume that you fully execute your rights coming from the authorization. Sometimes it will be beneficial for you, such interpretation. On other occasion, it will create a situation that even you did not sold the tickets, your driver will be perceived as a posted worker. So here is a first example of regular passenger service. As you can see on the left, the operator is from Portugal and the vehicle is equipped with a G2 V2 tachograph. That's one of the conditions that the driver and the operator may benefit from the exemption rules known as 1+1. So 1+1 for passengers and goods. 0+2 is applicable only to the carriage of goods. So we start in Lisbon, Portugal, where the passengers are picked up, intermediate bus stop in Madrid, Spain. Here, passengers may leave the vehicle if they don't go any further, and some more might be picked up here. And the final bus stop in Bordeaux, only for those passengers who want to leave the vehicle. So as you can see, it is possible, according to the authorization, to perform a bilateral operation that starts from Lisbon and leads to France, Bordeaux. If so, the first cross-strait operation that will occur, in this example, Madrid-Bordeaux, might be exempted from posting obligation, from posting rules. It is because that cross-strait operations is performed in a context of a bilateral operation, and there is the right type of tachograph installed in the vehicle. If there would be more cross-strait operations possible according to the authorization, any further cross-strait operations will require the driver to present a posting declaration. Usually, authorizations allows the operator to perform operations also in opposite direction. So we go from Bordeaux to Lisbon this time. So we are picking up some passengers here. Madrid is an intermediate bus stop, so some passengers may leave the vehicle, some more might be picked up. And this time the final bus stop is in Lisbon. So we are able to perform second part of our 1+1 rule. From Bordeaux to Lisbon, it is a bilateral operation because it ends in the member state of establishment. And from France to Spain, it is our first cross-strait operation that is exempted from posting rules. So it is important to know what sort of operations you are able to perform based on the authorization for regular passenger service. So as this map might be a bit complex, let's take a look on the same example presented in other way. So each blue shape illustrates a member state. The one on the left is a member state of establishment, Portugal, then Spain and France. We start in Lisbon. Bordeaux, that's the final bus stop only for those getting off the vehicle. So it is possible, according to the authorization for a regular passenger line, to collect two sets of groups of passengers in Lisbon. Some of them, they will go to intermediate bus stop, that is Madrid in Spain, and some will go till the very last bus stop in France. In Madrid, it is possible only to collect passengers that will go to the bus stop in Bordeaux, France. That will mean that the red passengers collected from Lisbon, they will create a bilateral operation. The green ones, they want to go to Madrid, so it will be also a bilateral operation because it starts in the member state of establishment. The red one red ones collected from Madrid, they do not start nor finish their journey in the member state of establishment of this Portuguese operator. So it will be a cross-strait operation. And as this cross-strait operation is performed in a context of bilateral operations, so bilateral operation is going on at the same time, so the driver won't be posted because there is right type of the tachograph and all the requirements for 1+1 rule are met. But if we will go in an opposite direction, we don't know if we will sell all tickets, so all possible operations will be performed. So in this example, there are only passengers that wants to go to Madrid, the one who boarded the vehicle in Bordeaux. There is nobody who wants to go to the very last stop in Lisbon. In Madrid, there are passengers that wants to go to Portugal. So as you can see here, there's a cross-strait operation from France to Spain, while there is no bilateral operation. And the blue ones, they will create a bilateral operation because they end their journey in a member state of establishment. And someone may ask, does it mean that the driver have to show a posting declaration? Is he perceived as posted? The answer is no, because according to the authorization, the operator may perform bilateral operation that starts in Bordeaux and finish in Lisbon. So in this example, the operator benefits from such interpretation. So even during a carriage of goods, such operation would be perceived as a posting situation. In regular passenger transport, there is no such. It is not a posting situation. So let me quickly summarize the exemption rules. So only cross-strait operation performed during bilateral operation might be exempted from posting. And only the first cross-strait operation, provided that there is right type of tachograph, might be exempted. The 0+2 rule applies only to transport of goods, not passengers. Any cabotage operation, it's a posting situation regardless the type of the tachograph or if there is a bilateral operation performed at the same time. Another example of regular passenger service. This time the operator is from Hungary. There's a G2V2 tachograph, and it will be a regular service that starts in capital of Hungary, Budapest, and we go through Slovakia, Austria to Germany. The first intermediate bus stop is in Bratislava, Slovakia, then Vienna, Salzburg. So you can see here it is possible to perform also cabotage operation during this regular passenger service. And we know that cabotage is a posting situation, right? And also 2 more bus stops in Germany, another cabotage possible. So Budapest, we go from the right to the left. We start in Budapest. That's the bus stop where passengers may only be picked up. There is not possible to leave them here. Intermediate bus stops, so always setting down passengers and picking them up. So according to the authorization, we assume that all possible connections between the bus stops are possible. On the stretch from Budapest to Bratislava, it is possible to perform only bilateral operations. So regardless where those passengers collected from Budapest, regardless where they want to leave the vehicle, they will always create a bilateral operation till Bratislava. That means that stretch does not require the driver to present a posting declaration because it is not a posting situation. posting starts here in Vienna. It is because the first cross-trade operation will be from Bratislava to Vienna. There's the right type of tachograph. There's a bilateral operation possible from Budapest all the way to Stuttgart. And the first cross-trade that will be exempted from posting will be Bratislava-Vienna. Afterwards, there will be a cabotage operation from Vienna to Salzburg. That's a posting always. Another cross-trade operation Salzburg-Munich, and one more cabotage operation Munich-Stuttgart. So the posting starts from Vienna and lasts till the very last bus stop. So the driver have to be equipped with a posting declaration for both Austria and Germany. Because according to the authorizations, all connections are possible, and cabotage is a posting situation. Okay, we are coming back from Germany back to the member state of establishment of the operator. So we start from the left and we go towards the right. Yeah, I can see those icons might be misleading a little bit. We collect passengers from Stuttgart and Budapest. That's the final bus stop. But let's imagine a situation where on all bus stops, all passengers we collect, they will only say that they want to go to Budapest. So to the member state of establishment of the operator. So in fact, we'll perform only bilateral operations because all of them ends in the member state of establishment of the operator. Doesn't change much? No. Even though we will actually perform only bilateral operations, there will be posting situations because we assess the obligation of posting of the driver according to the authorization. And as it is possible to perform a cabotage from Stuttgart to Munich, the posting starts here. Okay, you as professional operators are surely aware that many different fields of your activity may be taken on scrutiny of the enforcers, and you have to oblige the law related to driving rest time, technical state of your vehicle, and also the posting rules. And in case some infringements will be discovered and it will be a final decision, an infringement might be added to your account. And in case you've got too many infringements on your account, the administrative proceedings towards establishing if you still possesses good repute may start. Because as you surely know, having good repute, that's one of the conditions of engagement in the occupation of road transport operator. So be careful. Please obey those rules. As you can see, most of them they are classified as very serious infringements. I know it is not enough time to go into detail in this short presentation of 15 minutes. It is not possible to explain all possible scenarios. So I strongly encourage you may take a look on the website of the European Commission. There are Q&As translated in all European languages, and also posting scenarios related to carriage of passengers. They are prepared together with the expert group on posting of drivers, and I believe some more explanation will come in the future. So thank you for now. If there will be some questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Artur. Thank you indeed. Same as for the previous topic, so driving and rest time rules, we will have a dedicated Q&A session followed after the next couple of topics. So next we now have the presentation that will be delivered by my colleague from ELA, Daniela Vitine, and she is a seconded national expert from Cooperation Support Unit, and she will deliver a presentation on the topic of coordination of social security systems in road transport. So Daniela, please.
Good morning, everyone. Just give me a second to share the screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So my name is Daniela Vitine. I'm a seconded national expert at ELA, and I'm here today to present to you the topic of coordination of social security systems in relation to road transport. I will explain to you the topics, the concepts of posting and multi-state activity in social security, and explain to you why it is important for the driver to carry A1 certificate with him while working across EU. So what is social security? Social security is a state system that provides financial support. It provides access to benefits like family benefits, pension benefits, sickness benefits, unemployment benefits, etc. These are some of the example of risks that a person faces throughout their life cycle, which are also covered by EU regulations on social security. So there's no single unified social security system across EU. Each member state has its own national social security system, and the EU sets rules that coordinate these systems and determine which system applies to a mobile worker. The rules are here to prevent a situation in which a worker is not covered by any social security system at all, or is covered by multiple social security systems at the same time. And the rules are here to ensure clarity and stability, both for the worker and for the company. So on this slide, you can see some of the general principles related to coordination of social security systems and determination of legislation applicable. We'll talk about the two that are of your interest, and these are the principle of single applicable legislation and lex loci laboris. The single applicable legislation means that a person working across different EU countries can be subject to only one social security system at a time. And the goal of this principle is to make sure that workers are always covered without confusion about which social security system applies, and to avoid situations where somebody might contribute to two or more social security systems. And then there's a principle of lex loci laboris, meaning this is the main rule, meaning that the country where a person works, where the activity is carried out, is the country responsible for their social security. However, there are exceptions to this rule, and these exceptions are posting and multi-state activity. And this is what we'll be talking about today, about the exceptions to lex loci laboris, because drivers in international road transport, they are not only working in the member state of their employment or in the member state of residence, and they are therefore covered by these two exceptions. So on this slide, we wanted to summarize Articles 12 and Article 13 of the basic regulation, Regulation 883, related to coordination of social security systems. And we wanted to summarize the basics of posting and multi-state activity. So as you can see from this slide, Posting refers to a work on a temporary basis in another member state. This is typically an ad hoc arrangement and has a temporary nature. And posting in Social Security refers to a situation in which a worker is sent by their employer to work temporarily on the territory of another member state while maintaining Social Security coverage by the home country. The worker or the employer, they continue to pay contributions into the home country's system instead of the country where the worker is temporarily working in. So posting is not meant for ongoing multiple long-term assignments in other countries. On the other hand, multi-state activity is a work pattern involving work in multiple member states as a regular system of cross-border work, as a regular working arrangement. The duration of activity in one or more member states is decisive, and for this assessment, it's important what is described in the employment contract. And of course, the employment contract should match the factual situation of the worker. If there is no clear indication of this repetitive work pattern, then we cannot talk about multi-state activity, but in that case, we talk about posting. And in case of doubt whether a worker is covered by Article 12 or Article 13, you can always rely on the guidance of Social Security institutions. There is also a difference in the procedures for requesting issuing of A1 certificate. So in case of posting, the employer needs to inform the competent institution in the member state of insurance and request issuing of portable document A1 certificate, and the anticipated duration of that work cannot exceed 24 months. And for multi-state activities, it is the worker who needs to inform the competent institution in the member state of residence and request issuing of portable document A1. But in practice, we often see that that employers actually request the issuing of A1 certificate on behalf of the worker, and this is often accepted by Social Security institutions, which in this regard also rely on their national procedures in this regard. So as for the multi-state activity, a competent institutions typically issued the A1 certificate for a period of 24 months. And after that, they reassess the situation of a worker. They reassess if the conditions for multi-state activity is fulfilled. And there is a possibility of extension, which subsequently reduces administrative burden both for the worker and for the company. And then lastly, we have some statistics on a PDA1 documents, PDA1 forms. Unfortunately, we only have statistics for road freight transport. And as you can see from this slide, 1.5% of portable document A1s issued under Article 12 refer to road freight transport, road transport sector, meaning that actually posting in road transport is actually an exception when we talk about coordination of social security systems. On the other hand, 40% of portable document A1s issued under Article 13 refer to road transport sector. That is almost every second A1 certificate issued on multi-state activity refers to road transport sector. And having this in mind, we'll explain in more detail the application of Article 13. So, who can be regarded as normally working in 2 or more member states? This is a person who performs one or more activities in 2 or more member states for the same employer or for various employers. These activities can be performed simultaneously or in alternation. And the typical example of activities being performed simultaneously is an international road transport driver driving through territories of different member states. Activities performed in alternation, these are successive work assignments carried in different member states. For example, a business representative who year after year travels in one member state and does business there for 9 months and then returns to his member state of residence and performs work there for the remaining 3 months. So, how to determine which member state's legislation applies to a mobile worker according to Article 13? First, we need to determine the member state of residence, and the regulations actually have a specific concept in mind when talking about residence, meaning the habitual residence or the place where the person's center of interest is. There is a list of criteria in the regulations, and these criteria include the duration of presence on the territory of a member state, family situation, family ties, housing situation, etc. So the decision about which country is to be considered the country of residence is made by social security institutions and not by the person concerned. After determining the member state of residence, we need to determine whether this person carries out substantial part of activity in the member state of residence, and for this purpose, remuneration and the working time is taken into account. So if the marginal activities are disregarded, meaning activities accounting for less than 5% of regular working time or less than 5% of regular overall remuneration. If the person carries out a substantial part of activity, meaning 25% or more, in the member state of residence, then the legislation of the member state of residence applies to this worker. If not, then the legislation of the member state where the company has its registered office or place of business is applicable. For example, we could have a Czech driver who is employed by an Austrian company and drives only to Germany. And this driver commutes every day to work from Czechia to Austria. Since this driver does not perform 25% or more activities, meaning the substantial activity in Czechia, therefore, Austrian legislation, the legislation of the member state where the company has its registered office, is applicable to this driver. And now we have determined which legislation applies to a driver, and competent institution issues the A1 certificate. This document is important because it certifies workers' social security coverage while working in another member state. It ensures that payments are made to only one social security system. It proves that the worker complies with EU regulations and that this worker is legally working on the territory of another member state. The portable document A1 is issued both in case of posting and in case of multi-state activity, and it is typically issued before the work on the territory of another member state starts. In Social Security, there is an obligation to inform Social Security institutions about the situation of the worker and request issuing of A1 certificate. However, there is no obligation for the worker to carry the A1 certificate with him while working on the territory of another EU member state. However, some member states impose fines if the A1 certificate was not requested before the work on their territory started. And this issue was raised and discussed before the Administrative Commission for Coordination of Social Security Systems. And the position of the European Commission, based on the opinion of its legal service, is that this is not incompatible with EU law. We therefore recommend drivers that they always carry the A1 certificate, the portable document A1, with them when they're working on the territory of another member state, for the purpose to have it with them in case there is a roadside inspection, or in case other member state authorities want to verify the social security status of this mobile worker. The portable document A1 can be issued retroactively, but this should be done only in exceptional circumstances. For example, if a worker suddenly falls ill, or if in case there is some other type of urgent situation. In general, it should be requested whenever possible in advance. Nevertheless, not having a portable document A1 does not mean that the situation of the worker is illegal. So on this slide, we wanted to summarize the key points from this presentation that we wanted you to take with you. And this is that we recommend that you apply for a portable document A1 always if the driver is or could be involved in international road transport. Portable document A1 should be requested whenever possible in advance, and the worker is strongly recommended to carry the A1 certificate with him when working in another member state. So I thank you for your attention.
Daniela, for providing clarification on this important topic as well. So the same as we did for the previous topic on driving and rest time rules, we would now hear a short report about the experience of the relevant road transport association regarding posting of drivers in passenger transport and how these rules have been put into practice. This time, we'll first hear a report from Oleg from IRU. So dear Oleg, if you could take the floor to deliver the report.
Yes, Ivan, thank you. Well, not to report, but rather to react to what was said and suggest a couple of issues here, because of course we are dealing with probably the two of the most complicated issues which we have now. One is, of course, the lex specialis on posting of drivers, something which is a new legislation, of course, for all of us, and of course the other one, which is the coordination of social security. On the posting side, I wouldn't dwell on it, because of course I expect that we finish our joint work together with ELA and member states and the colleagues from the trade unions, at least on the two first recommendations on how to enforce posting and how to prove posting, the document to prove posting by the end of this year, hopefully. And then we actually try to finish already in the first quarter of next year the recommendation on remuneration in posting. But by that, I think we have done a tremendous work together on clarifying the posting situation, in particular the remuneration in posting. We also, and I don't know, I mean, I'm probably saying too much and praising too much ELA of the work they are doing, but we are now working on something that we have together proposed with the colleagues from the trade unions, and the ELA colleagues have taken it on board. And next year, I think by the end of next year, we should have finished the work on I would call it calculation tool for posting. Let's be not too optimistic. Let us see where we go. But the work has started, and road transport has been selected to be the sector where this work should be done. So that's something important, and we have to finish that work by the end of, first of all, by the end of this year. These two recommendations I said, and next year the final recommendation on remuneration and the calculation tool. Daniela, I actually look. what you have now proposed, I see it as a additional recommendation that can be developed together with the colleagues from ELA and the member states on how to address the issuance and the use and the control of the PDA1 form. This has been an issue which has not been clear across the board. Member states have their own rules. Now there is this opinion of the legal service of the Commission, and I think on the basis of this opinion, it would be good if we can accompany the 3 recommendations, the posting recommendation, with another 4th recommendation on how to carry and control the PDA1 form, so it is clear once for all for everybody. I also invite you, Daniela, and now in front of everybody, that you come to us and we have this discussion also with the industry with this presentation, so that colleagues can hear, and we can actually probably even start working together on a future recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Oleg. Thank you. And next up on the same subject, we have Stephen Steart from European Transport Workers Federation. So, Stephen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Oleg, I hope the invitation is also for me. I will be present if you invite us. Thank you.
Always. On posting, we work together.
Okay, nice. Good. The coordination of social security and enforcement along the road, passenger at urban public transport, governmental and subcontracting. There is a growing problem of social dumping and unfair competition. Honest drivers are sometimes employed to secondment arrangements, whereby social security contributions are paid in other countries, often at lower rates. The coordination of social security within the European regulations 883.2004 and 987.2009 determines with the country and responsible for social security contribution, but enforcement is complex. We have, of course, a trade union vision. It's very clear: fair competition, equal rights. Drivers working in Belgium must be covered by Belgian systems, and trade union demands that posting rules be strictly enforced so that foreign companies cannot undercut prices through lower labor costs. Strong enforcement on the road. The inspection service, RSZ in Belgium, is a social inspection. Traffic police must work together in more coordinated manners and be given more power to detect social fraud in the field. We have seen the work of ELA, and it's very good and decent work, hard work, so we're trying to support in every way we can. For example, checking A1 forms, rest periods, tachograph data, pay slips, cooperation between member states with BTB and ETF have been calling for years for a European enforcement framework that facilitates cross-border information exchange. Would be very helpful. And then protecting of drivers. We want criminalization of drivers, but we want protection of drivers. And enforcement should be focused on employers who violate the rules, not on individual drivers who are often under pressure to commit violations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen, for this. So now we are almost reaching the end of today's session, but not yet. We still have a couple of points on the agenda. As we did before, we would also now present some of the most relevant questions which we received from you in advance concerning posting of drivers. So same as the last time, I will read a question out loud and we will also post them into the chat so to have them in writing as well. Okay, so let me start with the first question, and for that one I would kindly ask Seamus to help us with answering on it. So the question is, which are the regulations and rules of cabotage in passenger transport? Seamus, if you can take the floor.
Yep. Can you hear me, Ivan? Yeah?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, the rules on cabotage in passenger transport are regulated by Regulation 1073/2009. So it gives the definition under Article 2, and then the provisions itself relating to cabotage, I think, are covered by Articles 13 up to, Chapter 5 of the same regulation, from Article 14 up to and including Article 17. So that's where you'll find the rules on cabotage in passenger transport.
Thank you, Seamus. This was short but informative, I must say. For the next one, we have two questions for which I would kindly ask Artur to help us answering them. So the first question is, what is the correct procedure for completing the journey form and what instructions are given to the control authorities? Artur, if you could.
Okay, I believe you can hear me okay. So journey form, that's the main document that documents the nature of occasional passenger transport. So it's very relevant during the roadside check, and we still encourage an infringement related to not proper filling in the form, because it must be filled in before the occasional service started, because lots of information, mainly 95% of information that's supposed to be there, is also known before the occasional service started. So filling in every line on an ongoing basis after several section of the carriage is not allowed, because we enforcers have to know upfront if this carriage is scheduled for 5 days, maybe 6, maybe 10, and it will may affect on our assessment if the driver is allowed for certain relaxation of driving rules. Yeah? Also, empty journeys. So the point, the coach leaving the premises of the operator and going towards the point where the passengers are actually picked up, it's also a part of that occasional service. So that part must also be included in the journey form. Some may say what the driver have to do if something unexpected will occur, like some passengers have to leave the vehicle because they are, let's say, sick, or they don't want to go any further. There is special field in the journey form for unexpected events, and it is possible to do it there. The information for the operators, you have to bear in mind that improper filling in of the journey form is also classified by the legislator as serious infringement, and it may jeopardize your good repute. And we enforcers use that document not only for the sake of checking if it's filled in, we use it for checking compliance with different regulations related to driving at rest time, posting of drivers, also proper use of tachograph. But because in case there is only one driver and we see that there was 2 cards in the tachograph during that occasional carriage, and there is only one driver mentioned in journey form, that's clear proof for us that the driver uses someone else's card. And we also are allowed to question the passengers to make sure was there only one driver present in the vehicle. So we use that form for different purposes. And as it was said before, the future is a digital version of journey form, but before that, we allowed to use photocopies of journey form for past journeys to prove that the driver was allowed for certain relaxations of driving and resting times. So it might be a photocopy, it might be a digital copy on the mobile device of the driver. We allow to do that until the digital version will come into force. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Artur, indeed. And I just saw from the chat that Oleg would also like to contribute to this one. So Oleg.
First of all, Artur, thank you for stating that you accept the digital journey forms. Of course, that's one thing that we think it is useful until we have a proper version of the journey form, which is and the Commission is now has a mandate from the mobility package to study that question and to come up with proposals if need be. What I wanted to say is that we do have together ILU and ECR at that time, some time ago, we issued a joint recommendations on how to fill in and how to control the journey form. Potentially, and this is probably a kind of joint reflection I'm putting on the table for our colleagues from CORTE and also the ELA. Potentially, it might not be bad that we come back to these joint recommendations with now the hindsight of what we have now, the new legislation on the derogations and the posting, and we can potentially review it and come up with a couple of concrete cases how it can be, what can be filled in, bearing in mind the obligations on posting of drivers and the new derogations. The future of the journey form, the Commission, of course, has to study and come up with proposals. Originally, what we wanted when the derogations were discussed by the legislators, Council and Parliament, we said that we prefer a digitalized journey form with a website similar to the posting declaration, where the journey forms can be posted, can be put, and for the control authorities to be able to control them. Now that the legislators selected another way of controlling the new driving and rest time rules and posting, which is through an adapted version of the tachograph, which will come into force soon. Then we have to see what is the future, really to have a discussion, what is the future of the journey form as a control document. If the tachograph is capable of actually filling in all the elements from the journey form we are using to control posting, then of course the tachograph will remain the only version. But we don't know, and that's why we need to have this joint work on that in the very near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Oleg. Thank you for contributing on this. So, Arthur, we could move on to the second question, and it's more of a comment, to be honest, describing a certain situation and how to approach it from the posting of driver perspective. So the situation is described as such in which a driver is driving with an empty vehicle to the airport, so in this case from Slovenia to Austria. On the airport in Austria, passengers enter the vehicle and they are being driven back to Slovenia. There was also a remark stating that passengers landed at the airport in Austria from the Netherlands and are residents of that member state.
Okay, so from what you said, the journey started in the Netherlands, that was flying to Austria, then road leg was limited from Austria to Slovenia, and it's performed by Slovenian operator, as I understand. So in this instance, we assess the posting rules only from the perspective of assessment of the road leg of this operation. So the road leg is limited from Austria to Slovenia. That means that the character of this road leg will be a bilateral operation. Bilateral operation is exempted from posting requirements. That means that even though the passengers, they start the journey in another member state, it doesn't change much. Okay, there are also so-called fly and drive services described in the scenarios provided to us by the Commission, and that's the interpretation that the road leg looks like a bilateral. There is no posting.
Thank you. Thank you, Arthur, for now. Maybe we will need you for the couple of additional questions from the chat, but let's continue with the ones that we prepared in advance. So the next one is the one related to the posting declarations, and it reads, so for which countries do we need to submit a posting declaration in advance for passenger transport? And now I will go back to my colleague Ivona. So Ivona, if you could help us with answering this one.
Yes, although it seems quite an easy question in the sense that posting now with the new directive, the Lex Specialis, of course, should be enforced in all of the member states. But the reply to this question is important, that we shouldn't be just posting declarations to all of the member states just in case, but only to those where the operator foresees his drivers to be doing services which are covered by posting. So, in other words, of course, it should require a bit of reflection to the extent possible, of course, where you are going, where you're sending your driver to perform services which are covered by posting. And to these member states, it is, of course, obligatory to submit a posting declaration. So again, all of the member states are covered by obligation, but only in case you're doing posting there, and not just by submitting a declaration to the other 26 member states plus EEA countries, which are also covered by these rules, just in case, because that could, of course, that could lead to controls which, to verify what you have declared in the declaration. So I hope, although which seemed an easy question, however, it is important to underline that we are not recommending posting, submitting posting declarations just in case. Ivan, back to you.
Thank you, Ivona, for clarifying on that. This is really important as well. And I will have yet another question for you. So it's the question regarding the calculation of the salary. And the question reads, is it possible to have a calculator or a form for calculating the salary according to the activities of the driver in international traffic available?
Yes, so this is a question. I know that we are almost running out of time. So just to answer quickly, we do not have yet a calculator. As you heard from Oleg and also colleagues from Ella, we have started working on the tool which would help the calculation of remuneration in all of the sectors, not only in road transport. However, we are aware how difficult it is in road transport because, of course, we would deal with, sometimes different legislations and different remunerations in a very short time. So yes, indeed, Ella is studying this, the possibility of having a tool which would help everyone, driver to know how much to earn, operators to know how much to pay, and enforcers to know what to then enforce. However, at this stage, of course, we have to rely on the communication by all of the member states about the terms and conditions of employment in their member states, which should be, of course, made publicly available through the so-called single national official websites for posting. These, let's say, collection of these websites is to be found at the Your Europe website, as shown by our colleague at the beginning of the session, and you will have the presentation with you. So please, at this stage, just refer to these websites, and we will be trying to, do the work in the meantime to, of course, upgrade the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivona. Thank you indeed. And yes, as you mentioned, we are reaching the end of today's session. But before that, I would kindly like to check whether the colleague Katarzyna Kuske from European Commission, from DG Move, would like to address us with a couple of lines. So Katarzyna, in case you would like to reach out to the participants.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear, perfectly.
Yes. I would like only to say hello to all participants and to wish that you come back virtually or physically home with all the information that you have that you are looking for, and also to say that if there are any question that has not been replied during this meeting, then they will be taken on board by Ella, as I understand, and then we will reply in writing. There are some elements that there needs to be maybe for some specific questions have to be discussed further and to receive more details. But then we will also help as much as possible also to see any specific complaints or specific questions. I would like to only to say that very soon we will publish guidelines on new rules on occasional passenger transport to clarify some issues, and also we will also publish updated guidance on driving and rest times following the court judgment on mobility package 1. Well, for this this is all from my side for the time being. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katarzyna. Thank you indeed. And thank you also for sharing with us the information on what is expected to be published soon, I would guess. So before we reach the end of today's discussion, I would kindly ask my colleague Ivona to address us with the couple of closing remarks. So Ivona, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ivan. And of course, I know of the, running out of time. I would just take 2 of your minutes to finalize, to summarize what we heard today. So on behalf of Ella, of course, thank you to our colleagues from CORTE, so the speakers, especially Hans, Artur and Seamus for delivering quite an extensive and very clear explanation of the new rules. I would like to also underline, which is important, of course, we would like to hear more of your experiences and feedback about how the new rules are actually then enforced. So thank you for all your comments in the chat, because that's very a good basis for us to know where to work and where to direct our activities. Please be as clear as possible in your comments for the next time, because I see, for example, to have maybe misinterpreted some of the comments in the chat, and sometimes a selection of 2 or different words could lead to misinterpretation. But maybe a few just comments on what we heard today. First, Ella, of course, is there to support European Commission, the enforcers, but especially drivers and the operators in understanding the adopted rules. Okay, we are not, let's say, here to discuss whether these are fair, just, or should be changed. We are here to support what has been adopted. Ella is not there to interpret, let's say, the character of these rules. We're here to help you apply it. So what are the adopted rules? The 3, let's say, main topics we addressed today: the changes for the occasional passenger transport, which are derogations, and as we heard by Hans, to be also proven and sort of justified by the driver. So it's extremely important that the driver knows about these derogations and understands how to use these derogations. We have heard also the difficulty that might be there for the next 2 years, where we will adapt tachograph features with the reality. So hopefully all the recommendations that also Katarzyna referred to will clarify a bit the picture, but we're also here to support the industry in understanding how to act in the next 2 years. Then posting in passenger transport is not an easy thing. We know it. Also here among the experts, we're also sometimes trying to understand the difficult scenarios. So if you think as industry, as drivers, as associations, that more of, let's say, sessions on posting in passenger transport is needed, please let us know. We're here to help. And then, of course, social security. Social security is a topic which in road transport this year we would like to, draw more attention to. Ella is actually now about to run a campaign on social security, because this year for us was a year of activities on social security. So hopefully all these messages will reach you if you are still not following Ella on LinkedIn, on other social media like Facebook or Instagram and our web page, please do so, because we will inform you about a lot of new activities and materials that could help you understand the rules when it comes to social security, especially this year. And thank you to our social partners involved, especially ETF and IRU. Oleg, I took note very well of your calls to work together on social security and Journey Forum. I think these are very interesting calls. I'm sure Daniela will be glad to help and to work on that. So from our side, thank you also to Ivan and colleagues and our interpreters. This is a very interesting exercise for us because we learn a lot from you. So yes, when it comes to difficult questions, and I close with this, we will try to address them. We gathered them all, and that will probably be done, especially, in the next year, when we would maybe rather run additional sessions to answer these difficult questions than maybe just reply in writing. So follow us for more. We will definitely come back on these issues. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Ivona. Thank you for your contribution. And also thank you for mentioning the upcoming campaign on social security. This is, I would say, also rather important and relevant for certain. So before we end, I would also like to thank all of the speakers and experts. I would like to thank the European Commission and CORTE, but probably above all, I would like to thank the participants for showing the interest in this event. Thank you very much to you all, and I hope seeing you soon at one of the ELA or CORTE events in future. We wish you a lovely rest of the week. Goodbye all.